Good night. This is...
Hi, Mike. Good morning. Could you please give us an update on Byron Jones? He's still expected back for the start of the regular season.
No, the process has remained the same with regard to very hopeful. The entire time we've all known, including Byron, that things have to hit on all cylinders without having a setback for that to be the case. Nothing's changed in that regard. We still, he's still in that part of the timeline where it is unknown as of now. He hasn't had any setbacks, so still extremely hopeful. I believe in the player and the human being, so we hold the same optimism as we did before for him coming back to week one, ready to adjust if need be.
What kind of football activities is he doing now?
There's change of direction, there's rehab, there's that's a area of the medical development coming back from an injury that I don't pretend to be an exact scientist on. It's a progression-based deal that you're trying to get. You're trying not to have any setbacks as you proceed. He's moving around. He's exactly where we thought he would be at this point, but with some change of direction stuff being incorporated on daily. But in terms of football drills, whether he's pedaling or running or moving side to side, he's just moving. So he's not playing with other people around him right now. So I'll let you know when that comes about.
How long do you have to see personally of him going out there and working out before you put him out on the field to play football?
Well, that's a case-by-case basis because, you're going with unknowns, right? So, like, how much does someone with, someone that has one accrued season that maybe has played his position, 4, 6, 8, 10 games, that's different than Byron, who's excelled at the position for extended periods of time. So he does have to do it before the game. It's case by case to me. That's how I look at everything. You kind of have to, use your brain with that. But I wouldn't put him on the field for the first time, during the game. But the exact timeline for him is a little shorter, being all of his production at the NFL level, all the stuff that I know exactly what he should look like. I know what he looks like when he's playing his full speed game. So it will be easier for me to kind of make that decision because of my familiarity watching him for extended period of time at every team he's played on.
Does the staff view McKenzie Alexander primarily as a slot who could allow Needham to go outside if needed, or will McKenzie be an outside player?
So you try to initially what a guy has played. There is a portion of the process, especially with a player like that, where you want them to earn their ability within your exact scheme. So the versatility of inside and outside, I think is nice for us. Everybody knows where he's had his production from, but I try not to say, every defensive scheme has their specific techniques. Sometimes, like for instance, we just played a team, Tampa Bay, where if you watch one-on-ones or whatever, their man-to-man coverage, they don't necessarily reroute as much as our guys do. So the reason why I say that is I'll never be 100% committed to, okay, this guy is only this. Always leaving the options open, fully knowing that he has experience, and we watch tape too, but we would rather, especially with that that particular player, let him earn his keep. And I wouldn't want to say, hey, you can't do something. We were just going for the best player inside or outside available and let the chips fall with that in his hands.
But did you feel like there was a need for an inside guy?
Really, I felt like there was just a need for a competitive NFL defensive back. You know, I'm not particularly worried about inside or outside. We like Nick Needham's versatility. Luckily, we have a group of athletic, diverse players on the back end that can really, that versatility is a huge strength. So to me, the only way, you know, we were afforded an opportunity. It's hard to get competition that has a chance to make the team in the middle of camp. So when you have a good player out there that you work out that has already been on your radar before you had any injuries, I wasn't really concerned with, hey, we're light on inside players or we're light on outside. I wanted someone that would legitimately have a chance to compete for a roster spot, which I think he does.
One more corner question, if I may. With Noah, one thing that you've been impressed by and one thing he still needs to work on.
I've been impressed by his internal fortitude. Okay, this is it's not lost on me at all. The pressures that come in the National Football League, especially when you're an athlete of his skill set. So he's done an outstanding job. You have to have a short memory at the cornerback position. He's really had some maturation growth this year from the stories that I heard coming in, where he's moving on to the next play and competing and not letting himself get down on himself. Where he needs to improve, I would say, is kind of what I was alluding to when I talked to him during the game, is I don't want him to ever lose his aggressiveness and feel like he's playing not to get beat. I want him to always compete, have no memory in that regard, and just be kind of cutthroat with the game of football, to just trust all of his training. And so in times that I think he's being a hair passive, I'll jump on that and be like, hey, that's not you. This is not where you're at in your development, which I think he agreed, which is again why he's taken some steps forward as a professional.
Do you have a coach that may talk to him about the transition of wide receiver to corner and his head where it's at in that sense, to develop the instincts of the corner?
No, I think you're just. I think it's in. I wouldn't say I had a coach directly responsible for that. I think all coaches are responsible to know where their players are coming from, including the head coach, but every coach that touches those players, to best reach them and to know where they're coming from, you have to know their experiences, and so that can be used as a negative or a positive, that you're a position switch. Obviously, I think that you should present it and get him to understand that it is a positive, that what it feels like to be a receiver. So then, all right, well, how does your play and your technique, how does that invite X, Y, or Z from the receiver when you're playing them? It can be used as a strength as opposed to, okay, well, I'm new to the position. Well, you have an edge on other people because you most recently played that position that you're covering. So I think all of the coaches, I put a huge emphasis on knowing their players and where they're coming from in order to reach them. So that's a prerequisite with all of the defensive coaches from the top down.
This week set up so that Tua will prepare to start.
This week is set up to not know what I'm going to do. It is, and I know I get where you're coming from. You're just trying to get an idea, and so I'm sensitive to that fact. But and whether it is not coach speak at all. It is direct. Like I really truly believe in the process, and taking in all pieces of information to do what's best for the team. What I do expect is I expect there to be some players that didn't play in this last game to play in this game coming forward. When I see exactly where we're at, and it doesn't necessarily mean if he has a good week of practice that I'm good. It's more where the whole offense is at, what he needs on the field, but also other players that have to play, and does that necessitate him playing? Like it is such a – to do it the right way, in my opinion, there's so many compounding variables that I would hesitate to say yes he is or no he's not, because I haven't made totally that decision. I have a best guess, but again, I let the stuff on the field and what's best for the Miami Dolphins lead the charge. So about the same timeline as it was last week, I'll know this week if he's going to play or not.
Dress rehearsal will be next week.
Everybody take a breath. All right? Huh?
So you have your best guess as to what's going to happen?
I'm not in the game of guess. So and come on, you guys are too veteran. The second I guess something, now you're tipping the scales one direction, because you'll definitely hold me accountable for said guess. So I'm not going to tip the scales on that, so to speak. And I appreciate you guys' your patience with me in that regard, and your trust that I mean what I say.
So your dress rehearsal will be next week then?
You know what? As soon as I know, you guys will know. But it's everything. Again, I think I would be doing a disservice to just arbitrarily say, well, typically I've always played this starting quarterback in game one. Literally but I didn't think it was appropriate in this particular situation that necessitated him to have that risk and all the other different variables. So you guys, ironically, I think you guys would hope, as vested Miami Dolphins enthusiasts, that I put that off and take in all the variables to really make the best decision that hopefully is the right decision.
Mike, could you give your thoughts on Larnell Coleman's play, just training camp? He's had a lot of increased opportunities.
Yeah, no, he's a really cool player that, like everybody on the offensive line, it is what's the last play you watched. He's had some growth. Then there's been some areas where like, hey man, you need to emphasize this, or we need more here. So I've seen him as having a very good camp, and I see him having the ability to continue the process and have an even better camp. But it's been far from perfect, which is kind of the case for most, if not all, players, where you're really trying to, I was pumped with him getting out there and what he did during the game. We've explained to him what he can do to improve, and hopefully that's what this is all for, is like the biggest thing with players in the National Football League is that you have to go and adjust and get better, because the bottom line is the best teams are their best at the end of the season, which means you have to, as a player, continue to develop and get better from coaching, and that's what is awesome about the preseason, is that you get those opportunities to see without educated guessing, to see firsthand, okay, well, is his game going to be better next week? We'll see.
Mike, could you explain what happened with Shaheen? The trade was made, reverted, and then IR.
Yeah. No, so that's a classic example of the process of the National Football League just being spot on. That's the reason why it exists. So he was practicing with nothing holding him back. He we 100% thought he was 100% healthy. Now, such is the nature of veteran players, you occur nicks along the way, and then that's why you have a physical before things can be finalized in the whole trade process. We were as surprised as I know Adam was, and that was something that we definitely didn't anticipate. But I think once we got that information, we had to digest it, all of us, including Adam. And then once we got back and he got some more opinions, he's decided to get surgery, which puts him on IR and out for the season, which we were 100% supportive. But that it is a classic example of, okay, why do they have this physical, and why is the trades not finalized until or pending that physical? And so I think it was an example of the process, or reinforcing the process of why the procedures are as such, and definitely wasn't anticipated. It was a nice little curveball.
Mike, you spoke a couple of days ago about the fact that the Bucs were so committed to stopping the run, putting 8 in the box a lot of times. Obviously, Skylar is a rookie, but when you have Tua in those situations, is he at a point in this offense where he's kind of empowered to make checks? And overall, can you kind of go through how checks and audibles are kind of incorporated into this offense?
We have a little bit of both elements in the offense. You have the ability to go from run play to pass play. There's a lot of times that there's 2 plays called, and you have parameters for the quarterback to kind of adjust the play call. It's not a holistic, all right, everything's up, so it's not a Peyton Manning situation where you're just audibling. That's not really how we've ever played offense. But you have parameters, and then there's a lot of parameters. We'll go run to run, or we'll go pass to pass. It all depends on the different things that the defense presents and kind of how you problem solve. Okay, well, sometimes it's not bad to run the ball versus an 8-man box. There's a lot of defensive structures that present an 8-man box, but it's the illusion of where they're playing pass first. So, like, in the particular instance that was the Tampa Bay game, that was a 8-man box that was run first. So in those type of situations, when you don't we weren't really going into the game thinking that they were going to commit that way. So then that's kind of play call driven. I was calling more passes than runs when it was like, wow, this is intense. They're overcommitted. So felt fortunate that I think it speaks to all the players that were on the field, as well as Skylar, that I felt without hesitation that I could put them in that situation, and that we wouldn't have penalties or a ton of negative plays, and we're going to be able to stay on schedule calling pass plays.
Mike, sticking with check with me system, from what I understood, it could be from one pass to another, not pass to run.
It's all of them. So you have pass to pass plays that you can check with me. You have run to pass plays. You have pass to run plays, or you have run to run plays.
So if you send a pass to pass into a quarterback, he can never audible out into a run.
I mean, so a third element. I mean, he could, in theory. I mean, that would be cool. Then I could just kind of take a break on the sidelines. But I try not to just pass my job off completely. But shoot, at some point in time, it's all about empowering the player. And if they were ever thinking that way, I wouldn't refrain and be like, I haven't done this. I've just in my experience found that it's a lot easier for players to not have the whole playbook at their hands like coaches do, but I guess I would never say never either. So.
Thanks.
All right.